Create That Life Legacy designers, Amber Prosia here. Welcome to episode number 4 of the Parenting Biz Podcast, coming to you every Monday. Now let's chat with this week's featured guest, Robyn Woodford. Robyn, are you ready to inspire us on your journey of how you formulated the life you've always wanted for yourself and your family?
Yes, absolutely, Amber.
Amazing. Robyn Woodford, also known as the My Secret Genie, is the director at Sunshine Projects International and is fortunate to be mentored by Bob Proctor from the movie The Secret. She is Australia's most trusted mindset success mentor, helping people learn how to master their mindset to gain abundant professional and personal growth and success. Robyn is PGI certified, which turns thinking into results, and 2 of her favorite quotes are, "The greatest gift of you can give anyone is your own happiness." I love that one, by the way. And "Change is inevitable. Personal growth is a choice." Absolutely true. Robyn, please take a minute and fill in any gaps from that intro and give us a little glimpse of your own personal life.
No, well, that's a very good intro, Amber.
Yeah.
My own personal life has been that I got married very young. I was 19. I had 2 children. And, of course, that marriage didn't last like a lot these days. So I was a single mum with 2 children. And I was living in the country. I was living on a farm. And every day after I'd done the housework, I used to go out and lie in the sun, in the summer, not in the winter, of course, in the summer. And I'd lie there and I'd be dreaming of where I wanted to live. I've always loved the beach and I used to dream of where I wanted to live. So here I am. I'm here. And I was walking down the beach the other day when the Magic Millions was on, which is a big horse race that they have up here on the Gold Coast. Mm-hmm. Walking along the beach, and I saw the horses were all there with the jockeys with their colours on, and they were going to race along the beach. So I'm walking along the beach and I thought, my gosh, here I am. This is what I dreamt about all those years ago.
Incredible.
And it is, and I'm here. And so, we all have big dreams and aspirations, but we don't always follow through with them because we think we can't. We've all got blockages. Since I've started working with Bob Proctor and him being my mentor, now I know how I got through my life and how I did what I did. I always read all the books. I've been into personal development since I was about 29. Mm-hmm. I've read all the books and I've done a lot of courses. Some were good, some were a little bit fluffy, but each one teaches you a little bit more. And since I've been working with Bob, I've really, really got it now, because once you see why you got where you got, instead of being an unconscious competent, we can be a conscious competent. And that enables you to get where you want to go an awful lot quicker, because Bob's teachings are really solid and they last. He actually explains, why you do what you do and how to set your goals, how to create your life just how you want it. And he explains the techniques. He explains how to do it and why you're doing it. And that's probably a big thing that a lot of people miss, because we all have these paradigms, which I don't know if you've heard about paradigms.
I have, yeah.
But great. Well, paradigms are a collection of beliefs that are stored somewhere in your subconscious mind, and they're programmed into us from 5 months in utero till the age of 7. So when we're born, our conscious mind isn't really working. Our conscious mind is totally open. So we've been programmed. And anything that's going on around us, anything that our parents are talking about, any beliefs they have, just goes straight into our subconscious mind. It's just like a great big fishbowl, and anything anyone wants to dump in there is dumped in there. And it's not until till we grow up that we actually have a choice. We have a choice, because our mind is actually divided into 2 sections, our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. So when we're a little bit older, we can choose what we want to think. The conscious mind is your intellectual mind, where you have a choice whether you want to accept that idea or you don't. But your subconscious mind has no choice. Everything that goes in there sinks in. So it will accept things that aren't true, and that's how we can change what's programmed into us by affirmations and using our imagination, seeing pictures of what we want and where we want to be, and that all goes into our subconscious mind and it overrides the old paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Is this making sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's a great, it's awesome that you've overcome that in your own personal life. Because as you are aware, our listeners are parents or parents-to-be that realize ownership is key to not only to our parenting or our business, but in life in general. And along that parenting journey, we can lose sight of that. So however we focus on life as a game or an activity or a sport, not only can we learn to let go easier, but we can also gain strength from our mistakes and design our core focus to be one of laughter, joy, and most importantly, having fun, just like a 5-year-old kid in the sandbox. And those are exactly like your paradigms that you were talking about. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So this week, we're going to do our entire interview will be crafted around the sport of tennis. So tennis can be played as singles or doubles. And even though, yes, technically you're singularly on the court, but we're truly never playing on our own. We have coaches and mentors and people all around us. Oprah Winfrey says it best. She says, no one makes it in the world without some form of mentorship. Nobody makes it alone. Nobody has made it alone. And a tennis match is made up of sets, which is made up of games, which are made up of points, just like life. The game of life is made up of years, which are made up of moments, which are made up of choices. And each choice can lead us down a different path. So let's grab our seats and let's get ready to watch in silence the first competitive match of the season. Serving or receiving, get in the game. So now we're all aware that this is just an analogy, but we can create and design our lives exactly like you were saying, Robyn, any way we want. So this is your chosen sport. So let's get ourselves into the dressing room and get ready for today's match. So this is going to be broken into a few different sections. And the first section we're going to start with is a pre-match speech. And we're sitting in the dressing room and we're about to go on the court. Now, I know we haven't said it yet, Robyn, but I hope you don't mind me bringing in a little bit more of your personal life, that you're also, you mentioned that you're a mother of 2, but you also have grandkids too, which is really exciting. How old are they?
Absolutely. My grandchildren are, my eldest one is 21. Mm-hmm. The next one is 19. Mm-hmm. The next youngest one is 16 and 14 is the youngest.
Fantastic.
So they're all at an age where I am endeavoring to teach them all this wonderful message of how you can create your own life. I'm taking the 21-year-old over with me to LA on the 22nd of February to go to Bob Proctor's seminar, his paradigm shift seminar.
Fantastic.
Yes, she wants to be a singer. And I've also engaged an appointment with Justin Bieber's producer over there.
Amazing.
So she's very excited about that.
Oh, I bet she's thrilled. So let's take her, for example. I know it was singing, but we'll bring it into tennis, because one of my questions for you is, if you're in the dressing room, you're about to go on the court, but if this was your grandchild about to play their first competitive game of the season, what advice would you be sharing with them?
Well, my advice to her would be, see yourself winning the match. Set goals. Set a definite goal. Set a very definite goal and sit down and relax. Get your mind down into the alpha level of mind, alpha beat, and just see yourself winning the match, because you don't have to know how you're going to get there. You just need to look at the end result. So I would say, look at yourself receiving the award and everybody in the audience clapping and cheering, and that's all you need to see. You don't need to know the how.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the feeling at the end too, right? When you can bring in more emotion to it.
Absolutely.
So celebration. And,
Absolutely. You need the feeling, but if you're good enough at imagining, and we all can imagine very well, we all have very vivid imaginations. We've just got to uncover how to use it. That will bring the feeling into your body. So, and it's the feeling that will achieve the results. There's a little book by Neville Goddard that I read quite often.
What
Very,
book is
very
that?
good. It's The Feeling is the Secret. It's an amazing book. It's a tiny little book. It takes you about an hour or so to read, a couple of hours to read.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very good.
Fantastic. I'll put that actually in the show notes. So thanks so much for that, Robyn. Anything that we talk about, any resources or anything that you recommend, I'll add into the show notes. So I'll definitely put in that book there for you.
Yes.
If this was your, would this advice be any different if it was your child or a client? Or would it be the same advice to you?
It would be the same advice, because we really have such such amazing faculties that we don't use. Most people concentrate on what is, on their current set of circumstances, like, oh, I don't have enough money, or my relationship's not going very well. If you keep looking at your current situation and your current results, you're just going to get more of that. But once we dig a lot deeper and we use our perception, our will, our imagination, our intuition, our memory, and our reason, that's where the magic happens. And I really love imagination, because imagination, you can imagine anything, any result you want, but you do need to get into the feeling of it too.
Do you believe?
Because feeling is the secret.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. Do you do your imagination through vision boards and post up pictures around your house, or, put things in front of your car seat? What do you do to also visualize, to add in, to keep feeding that imagination?
Oh, yes, I've got vision boards all around my house. My bedroom is one big vision board. And the things happen. I did a house. I bought an really old house, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it up and make it into a really beautiful house. And I used my vision board, and it was amazing. I put up some gates that I wanted. It was walking through some wrought iron gates into a courtyard.
Beautiful.
Which I'd seen somewhere in my travels, and I really wanted that. So I had the picture up on my vision board, and I took it out of a magazine. I rang the magazine, and they said, oh, those gates are going to be 16,000. And I thought, no. Well, I'll just leave it on the vision board. And then another day we had a guy come in looking for at doing some other gates for us. And I said, I really want to put wrought iron gates on here opening into the courtyard. And he said, oh, I do wrought iron gates. So I raced up and I got the scissors and I cut it off my vision board, and I ran downstairs and I said, now this is what I had in mind. And he said, oh, yes, I can do that for you. And I said, how much will that cost? And he said, oh, that'll cost about $3,500. And I said, I was only being really joking. I said, oh, my goodness, can't you do it for less than that? And he said, all right, I'll do it for $2,800.
Oh, amazing.
So it all works.
It really does.
Everything that I've had on my vision board when I did the house up became a reality.
And how often do you change your vision board?
I think vision boards are very important, and I do urge everybody to have vision boards.
Absolutely. And one of my questions to you, Robyn, is do you create the vision board with a mindset of a year from now or a lifetime from now? And do you often change them, like every year or every few months, or once you've achieved it, you then take things down and then put new things up? How often do you alternate them?
Well, I always leave the monetary ones there, because I have monetary goals too. It's not about the money. It's about being the person who lives at that level, if you know what I mean.
I do, absolutely.
So I think we all need monetary goals. I have a lot of people say to me, but I don't want money. I just want to be spiritual. Well, unfortunately, you cannot live in this world, in Australia, without money. So
yeah,
the money is really, it's only energy. It's not about the money. Like Bob Proctor has made millions of dollars, millions. And he says he's not really all that interested in the money part of it. I've been to his house. It's a very nice house, but it's only a same house that you'd find anywhere on the Gold Coast or maybe in Melbourne. It's not over the top. He's very comfortable, and he says there's only two reasons for money, and that is to be comfortable and to leave a legacy bigger than you are, and to help others. And what Bob and Sandy do, they build houses and schools, at least, for people in Kenya, for people who, kids that can't go to school because they've got to go and fetch water, and the boys have got to work. So they actually saw that the schools that were already there were empty because the kids had to work. So what they do is they go in and they build a whole village. They build houses, they build a school, and they teach the people how to grow their vegetables and how to be self-supporting. So I've been to quite a few events where they've been raising money, quite a few of their money-raising events, and Bob and Sandy always say they'll match all the donations to 500,000.
Amazing.
So that's mainly what Bob is using the money for at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the money. If you don't have money, you can't help anybody else.
That's it.
So I really think it's important to have a monetary goal, and mine's quite high, so I'll leave that up there. But I do move the other things around, and I might paste something over something that's already happened, paste the new one over it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of everybody can choose what they do themselves. It's up to each separate person.
That's it. And even if you have something, like I always found, because I was backpacking for 3.5 years, and I found like I love vision boards. I've always had them. But I found like, I had to be creative because obviously I couldn't travel with that. So I would actually take like a coloring book and put things into them. And then as, those all got ticked off, then I was like, okay, well, on to the next one. But maybe it was a short time. Maybe it was only a 6-month focus, or, 8 months. But then it was always something coming up. I just love them. And even now, we just moved down into a new home, and it's like, great, I get to do another one. I get to create another one. Yeah, a new space, and it's great.
Well, that was a great idea, Amber, because that's what I used to do too. Have a vision book. It doesn't need to be vision boards around your house. If you don't like to see things hanging around your house, you can have a vision book, and you can look at it every day, as many times as you like, because also another thing that I find is very helpful is writing out your goals. Write out a new life, a new story, how you want the story to be. Write out where you want to be, and bring in everything, right? Make it very, very clear and precise, so that if you ran into somebody down the street, they said, well, what is your goal? Can you tell me about it? So that if you told it to them, they would know exactly what you mean. So if you write out the goal, and you look at it every morning, read it every morning when you get up, and every night before you go to bed, and write it out as many times as you can, because writing causes thinking. We think in pictures. Thinking, and picture, is using your imagination. So all that helps, and it's whatever we put out to the universe. And whatever if we can get onto the vibration of it, it's just got to happen. It's physics.
Absolutely. I think that's really great. Thank you so much. So I think that's a lot for a pre-match speech. But let's go into our first game. I love it. No, I think it's fantastic. And our first game, it's called Love to Game. And just like in tennis scorekeeping, which absolutely doesn't make any mathematical sense, but the big point lesson here is don't get caught in the small stuff. Don't worry about that it doesn't make mathematical sense. So the scorekeeping in tennis goes love, 15, 30, 40, then game. But for a tennis community, that completely makes sense, and they love it, right? They say it all the time. So going into sweating the small stuff, now, if you're not a tennis fan, I'm sure you may wonder how the scorekeeping came of existence. But rather than looking at the past and trying to figure it all out, let's look at this confusion to non-tennis players and incorporate it into our lives' perspectives. So, Robyn, through your facilitating experience, how do you see sweating the small stuff affecting people's lives and their overall health and happiness levels?
Well, it's going to take them down into disintegration, is sweating the small stuff. It depends, Bob says it actually. I've got a video here with Bob saying, Now, don't sweat the small stuff because it's all small stuff. Everything's small stuff because anything in the past, we can't control anything in the past. It's over, it's finished. And if we keep thinking about that, we're just going to create more of what we already have. And I love this quote. I love to start with this quote. And this is from Albert Einstein. He says, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them.
Absolutely.
You know, that's so good, isn't it?
It's very powerful too.
Yeah, and Einstein really understood how the mind works. So he thought that if you're thinking about the problem and the past, you won't be able to come up with a solution.
Yes, very true.
There was another man called Buckminster Fuller who said to change something, don't fight the existing reality. If you want to change something, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So they're actually saying the exact same thing. You know, we've got to change our thinking if we want to get different results. So sweating the small stuff is like things that that are in the past, and you're just going to be attracting more of whatever that is that you're sweating on. Absolutely. And they are. It's only small. That's because you're here now. You know.
Very well said. Next question. So, as you are aware, most tennis matches are played in the best of 3 sets format, where you have to win 2 sets to win, which means at least 6 games to even win a set. This can be exhausting for an individual or pair to win the game. Just like in life, we can have a lot of ups and downs, but who gets back up that is going to win at life? So, Robyn, if someone is feeling exhausted with the mundane tasks of life, business, family, everything in between, how would you guide them out of that exhaustion phase?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I think that actually goes back to sweating the small stuff, because we shouldn't be exhausted. If we're not thinking about our current circumstances, if we're not thinking about problems in our life, we shouldn't be exhausted. We should be happy. And I'd probably persuade them to flip that feeling, flip it over to feeling happy, because happiness is, if we can bring in the feeling of happiness, that's going to attract exactly what we want into our lives. And I know it can be exhausting. Bringing up children and worrying about where the next quid's coming from, and worrying about the money, but that's once again, that is thinking about your current results. And your current results are only a reflection. Well, they're a result of what you've already been thinking in the past. So we can flip the switch very easily. You can flip into creating what you do want. And I think the main thing is to keep your mind on what you do want. Absolutely. Never think about what you don't want. Just if what you don't want comes into your mind, you have to flip it.
I love that you said that, because that's really just simple steps of just progress equals happiness. Right? If you just, even though, yes, they might feel like mundane, but if you just switch and now it's a task that you've completed, that's progress. You're taking a step. You're doing something towards your future. You're building that new construct. And it's really great. I think that's the way out. Absolutely.
Yes. And just like the thing is, when we set a goal, I think it was Earl Nightingale said, if you're taking steps to work towards your goal, you're being successful. Yes. You don't have to reach the goal to be successful, but as long as every day you're taking steps that are getting you closer to your goal, that is success. And you will get there. No, you can't get there. You can't get to somewhere magic from where you are now without taking some steps in the right direction.
Which is fantastic. That leads us into our next phase. It's called faults versus aces, blaming versus celebrations. So we are all going to make mistakes in life, and we're all going to have highlights in our life, but it all comes down to which one we'll focus on more. So how does blaming other people, places, or things affect our state And also, how does it impact or influence our children's beliefs? Because remember, children actually, they will do more of what they see than what we tell them to do. What would your advice be on that one, Robyn?
Well, that's a good one, because we all go into blaming things. I mean, I don't do it much now because I've learned to take full responsibility for my life. And really, we can't be run around blaming other people for things, because we actually are the creators of our life.
Yes.
So any situation that you're blaming somebody else for, you have actually created. And that's a hard one for a lot of people to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the truth. And so if I ever find that I'm in a situation where I'm in a bad situation, I go back and I think, what have I done to create this situation? How did I get here? And what sort of a mood was I in the last few days that's created this, that's brought this to me? But we really, honestly, we can't go around blaming other people for things. And we have to learn to take the full responsibility ourselves. But as you said, what would be the effect on the children?
Mm-hmm.
The children will learn what they live. There's a lovely poem, and I just can't really remember it, but it's about, you probably heard it, Amber, yourself. It's about little children learn what they live.
I actually haven't, unless maybe if it comes across. I'll look it up though.
Isn't it beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Little children learn what they live. If they're brought up with happiness, they're going to be happy people. If they're brought up being told that they're no good, well, sort of, I can't remember. I can't think of the word. You'll have to chop that one out, but I should have it.
I'll leave it in there, but I'll hopefully Google some stuff and see if I can find it. And if not, maybe someone in our audience who's listening right now has it, and they'd be happy to share it with us. But yeah, I love even just that saying, just little children learn what they live. That's huge. It's a really big impact. And I have to say as well, Robyn, I love how you not only take full responsibility, but you actually ask yourself really strong and impactful questions of, what did I just do before this happened? What did I may have brought up? I love that you actually were asking yourself and not pointing the finger at someone else. I think it's really great.
Absolutely. And in my coaching course, the second chapter is the knowing doing gap. And that's very powerful. It's quite confronting, because we have to do a lot of writing on what we're doing that we know we shouldn't. But it's a very powerful lesson, because we all do things that we know we shouldn't do. And we do things that we don't do things that we know we should do. So there's this knowing doing gap that goes on quite often within us. And once we recognize it, we can change it. It's all about raising your awareness to a level where you're very conscious of what's going on in your mind and what you're doing.
And that's the first thing, isn't it? It's awareness, then it's acceptance, and then it's altering and making changes. But
yes,
the awareness is the biggest thing, because if you're not even realizing that you're blaming someone, well, that's a downfall right then there. Not going to go
absolutely
too far. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that one. What about the importance of celebrating or rewarding ourselves, even over the small wins and points?
Well, that's very important too, because any win is a good win. It doesn't matter how small it is or how big it is, but it's raising our awareness. And if we can get excited and feeling happy about a small win, that's going to build momentum, and it's going to bring the next thing to us that we want. And so we've got another win of another stepping stone on the way. And so it goes, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to raise our vibrations up to where they are, where we want is, if that makes sense.
It does. Yep, absolutely. And it is about that, right? It's just raising that bar and keep rewarding ourselves, even if it's just the small things, like you said, because they are still wins. And I think the small ones are actually most important, because I think people just forget about, like, oh yeah, no, I just did that, or I just achieved that, but they just shrug it off, and they don't actually give themselves that time for reward. And it can be something small, just go for a pedicure, go for a massage, go for a track day, whatever makes you really, really happy, and know that all this effort that you're putting into something that it's worthwhile, because life still needs to be filled, right? Still needs to be fulfilled through play and laughter and joy. And you're going to do that by having fun and enjoying activities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's what life's meant to be. Life's not meant to be a hard grind and all worry and striving and straining. It's meant to be happy and free.
That's right.
And a very good affirmation that I write out, I have people, my clients, writing out affirmations to change, because as Buckminster Fuller said, you can't take the old programming out, really. It's better to replace it with something else. And so that's what we do. And one that I write out which is serving me quite well is I am so happy and grateful now that I allow my life to flow free and easy.
Huge. It's a great one.
That gets rid of the stress and the struggle and the strain, because really we all just need to let our life flow free and easy, and we'll get there. But we try to push it. We try to push it because we want to get there quicker, and that's actually pushing it away.
Rather than letting life pull us towards where we're actually wanting to go, but letting that happen. It's all about letting go, isn't it? And it's just surrendering and trusting.
Absolutely, because, whatever we're seeking is seeking us.
Yes, I love that. Very well said.
Great.
Well, let's go into our next phase called Deuce It Out. So if both of you and your opponent reach 40 points in the game, it's called a deuce. And sometimes in life, we can feel like it's going back and forth, right? Because that's even what happens in the tennis match game. So it's just like a deuce. How can we handle this never-ending battle? And what advice would you actually give to, if you had, your own child or your grandchild was going through this never-ending battle or deuce? What advice would you share with them?
Well, that's lack of making a decision, really. Going backwards and forwards is just not making a decision. It's really procrastination, isn't it? Juice.
Yeah, it can be looked at that perspective, or it can be even for the game that you're just constantly wanting to win back and forth, and you're doing everything you can, but you're going up against walls, and there's your opponent coming in. But it's both ways, and I love that you brought out both perspectives, because that's really how you look at it, isn't it?
Well, I really feel that the decision is the most important thing, because as soon as we make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And everything works in our favor. But I find that I sort of put juices to, I want to do this. Will I do this or will I do that? Will I do this? And going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Will I do it or won't I? And, the lack of decisions are responsible for breaking or making many careers. So, people who have become really proficient at making decisions and without asking other people, what should I do? Because we should never ask other people what we should do. They're the people that get on in life. I think in Napoleon Hill's book, in Think and Grow Rich, he said that one thing he noticed was that the wealthy people who get on in the world and make it happen make decisions in a second, and they change them very seldom. But the people who are failures fail to make decisions. And that's what juice reminds me of.
I love it. That's fantastic. While playing against an opponent, we need to see where the ball is going before it actually goes there. How is this related to life? And I just jot down a few things, is that being one step ahead, or having a clear vision of where we're going, or a strong enough why, or what's going to push us beyond our limits to never give up and overcome what's in our way to win. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, we definitely need to know where we're going, because if we don't know where we're going, any road will take us there. So we definitely need to have a goal, a definite goal. And what I teach people to do is set a really big goal, something that they haven't done before, something that's a fantasy,
Mhm.
because there's three types of goals. There's A-type goals, B-type goals, and C-type goals. Now, an A goal is doing something that you've done before, like buying a car. If you bought a Holden once and it's 4 years old and you're going to buy another one, that's not really a goal because you've done that before. You know how to do it.
Mhm.
A B goal is going for something that you may have not have done it before, but you think, okay, if I do this and if this goes right and if that goes right and if it all comes into play, I can get there, I can do it. A C-type goal is stretching. And we really need to stretch. We need that stretch. So a C-type goal is something that you haven't done before. It's a fantasy. It's something that you would really, really love to do, but you don't know how. You don't even know how you're going to start, and you don't even know how you're going to get there because you don't need to know the how, but you just know that you will.
That's right. Got to
So
see it.
you've got to see it. Then next we write it all out. And like I said before, we write it all out in a story. We read it in the morning when we get up. We read it when we go to bed at night, before we go to bed at night, because that stays in your mind. That puts you in the right vibration to sleep, and you'll wake up in that vibration in the morning. And the little book that I referred to before,
Mhm.
Feeling is the Secret, that explains why. That explains all about it. But yes, you need to have it all written down. Bob says if you're really serious about getting your goal, you write it out 100 times.
All right.
100 times every day. I write it out, but I don't always do 100 times a day because I run out of time. But,
Yeah.
if you can write it out 100 times a day, that will help. Write it on a goal card and carry it with you so that every time you see it, that puts a picture in your mind of what it is you want. Now, it can be a monetary goal. I think Bob said on his very first goal card that he wrote he wanted 25,000. But that was like about 50 years ago.
Yeah, big amount for
70, 80, yeah, it was about 50 or 60 years ago because he's 84 now. Oh, 84. He's going to be 84 this year. You would never know he's 84. He's more like, he looks about 64. And he acts about 30.
That's the most important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yes. So his first goal, 25,000, and he achieved that. He didn't really believe when the man came along and said to him, Bob, if you do exactly what I say, you can have whatever you want. At that stage, he was earning £4,000 a year, $4,000 a year, and he owed $6,000. And he said he was going downhill and he was gaining speed. And this man came along and said, if you do whatever I tell you, you can have whatever you want. And he said, I didn't believe him, but he said I thought I'd do it because he believed it. So this is all about, you must have a goal that's going to, you've got something to follow and something to get out of bed for. I think Earl Nightingale said one of the most debilitating things is following the crowd.
Yes, being a sheeple.
Being a sheep, and that's what we've been conditioned to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To conform.
And that's a whole other topic for a whole other day, I would say, about the school education system and how we have been, pushed down into our own factory of life that the government and society wants us to follow. Absolutely. So let's wrap it up. We're going to go into our final set, and the final set is called silence. Because as you are aware, spectators must be absolutely silent when the players are playing. So most people have heard the saying, God gives us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. What is your interpretation of those wise words?
Well, my interpretation of that is meditation. I love to meditate. And I think that is very true, that we have 1 mouth and 2 ears to listen. Listening's very good, but I also love going into the silence of meditation. And every morning when I wake up, sometimes I meditate for an hour because it feels so good. I don't want to come out of it. I think I'll just like to stay here all day. Of course you can't, but that aligns all your energy, and it can align your goal with your vibration, because as we set a goal, it's in our mind, it goes down to our subconscious mind, and when it joins with emotion, we call that a feeling. So that it's really a vibration that goes down into our body, and that makes our body do whatever it is it needs to do to bring us that goal. So I love the silence of meditation and just letting the energy flow through you. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and you may have already answered this, and you probably could, iterate just a little bit longer from what you just said. But my next question is, as a mother and a grandmother, what advice are you able to share with us that helped you along your life journey, that you learned about silence and the significance of listening and meditation, but from a business and family perspective?
Oh, that's a big question, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I often wanted my kids to be silent. I was hoping they would be silent one day.
Didn't happen?
No, it doesn't. Mine used to fight in the car where you can't reach them.
Yes, of course.
Can't reach them with the ruler or anything. But I think listening to children is very important. When I go back into my past and my childhood, I had these old aunts that used to tell me that little girls should be seen and not heard.
Yes, unfortunately, isn't it?
And that is unfortunate, and I think it's a great shame, because little children. I mean, I think it's in the book of the prophet, which I've got here, which I can probably get out if I pull it in. The prophet says that your children will show you the way of the future. Out on children on page 24, if I can go to that, 22, 24. He says you're on children. He says, you may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams.
Wow, very powerful.
It is, yes. And, that when I was told that little girls should be seen and not heard, when I left school, I was very, very shy, because I'd been told this all my life, that you went to the dinner table and you weren't allowed to talk. The grown-ups had to talk, but I think we need to listen to our children, because they are the way of the future.
Absolutely.
Is what it says in The Prophet. The Prophet's a lovely little book. I've been reading it all my life. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, I'm glad that you've came out from there, Robyn, because you're definitely not quiet anymore. And you're definitely out there, and I love it. I love how, even just the bright colors that you wear, and your personality is just out there and radiant, and it's amazing. And so it is so great. And it also is another huge indication that you can change that, all because that you were informed that or told that when you were younger doesn't mean you have to believe it now. And that's huge.
Absolutely. And that's what we work at, changing paradigms. I help people with Bob's Thinking into Results, Bob and Sandy's Thinking into Results, which is a program that changes paradigms, and it will change paradigms. There's no risk. It does change paradigms. We replace the old paradigm with a new one, and the beliefs like that about little girls should be seen and not heard. And I mean, that's not all I was told when I was a child. I was told money doesn't grow on trees, which was a bit of a lie, because back then it was made of paper and it did grow on trees.
I was told that as well, by the way. Yeah, we have so many little things that we were informed of, and we may not even subconsciously remember them. It's until we go deep and we go into the awareness and actually be open of our paradigms that we come up with these sayings that we didn't realize were actually there, and they're actually directing us.
And they're actually stuck there. So if we're stuck in a vibration where we're earning $50,000 a year, that's because we've been programmed that that's all we're worth. but we can change that. We can override that with a better idea, with a better program. It's like, it's like having a program in your mind or it's like a program in your computer. Like you have an Excel program in your computer and you want to do something in PowerPoint. Well, you're not going to be able to use the Excel program to do your PowerPoint presentation, are you?
No.
So we've got all these little beliefs in our mind, and that are absolutely stuck in there unless we choose to dig them out. And with this program, with my program, we dig really, really deep. And, and I haven't met anyone who hasn't had success with it. In fact, I give a money back guarantee.
Oh, do you? Amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us, this is it. So thank you so much, Robyn, for being on our show. I really appreciate it. So please tell us, I'm sure the listeners are dying to know, how can they get in touch with you? And if they want to do your course, please let us know as well.
Absolutely. Well, they can ring me for a free success roadmap session.
Okay.
They can send me an email on sunshineproject@optusnet.com.au or mysecretgenie.com.au. They can have a look at my website, My Secret Genie, or they can give me a call on 0418 159 333. And we can do a free success roadmap.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and they can just tell me where they are and where they want to be, and we can work out a plan for them.
No problem. And just with your email, Robyn, the second one, that My Secret Genie, what was the email again?
mysecretgenie.com.au.
Okay. Is there Robyn at mysecretgenie.com.au, do you mean?
I think it's just My Secret Genie. Linda, I've got to ask she's my organizer.
It's great. You have to have a VA. You got to have a PA. All of them.
She's outside. She's talking on the phone.
Don't worry. I'll add it in after, but we'll confirm that email. We'll just make sure.
We can confirm that. Okay.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much, listeners. Robyn, thank you so much for an epic episode. I'm sure they've got jam-packed with information on here, as well as I even took notes. So thank you so much. Listeners, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks again for this week, and have a wonderful 7 days. See you soon. Thanks. Bye.